Thank you very much, everybody, for coming. We are going to make a start now. So I'm going to introduce Ivor Moody, who's going to introduce me. Ivor Moody is the Vice Chair of the local cathedral, Chelmsford Cathedral. And me and him have got quite a few links through Interfaith, through Essex Mind and Spirit, through cricket, so many connections there since a long, long time, since just after 9/11. So do you want to come at the front?
Yeah, I should explain about the cricket. We have an interfaith cricket match every year now, well, most years if we can organise it. And yes, it's usually in the summer, isn't it?
Yeah.
And for the last year, or the last time we played, we involved the Hindu community as well in Chelmsford, so we had a three-way match. And Chelmsford came third, Chelmsford Cathedral came third, an honourable third. Anyway, welcome everyone. Thank you for asking me. As Sidra said, Sidra and I have worked together for a long time under many different guises. One of the most recent, I suppose, is something called the Essex Faith Covenant, which I chair here in Essex. And the Faith Covenant is part of a national organisation, national initiative, which seeks to get together faith communities, that primarily faith communities, but not just faith communities, members of the voluntary statutory services as well, and to try and involve councils, city councils, borough councils, district councils, and of course, as far as we're concerned, the Essex County Council, to make them realise that a lot of the council's agendas of what they want to do in the community are being done large on a local coalface level in local communities with events like this. I mean, this is a classic example of something which the county council needs to know about, because the county council bangs on about its loneliness and isolation agenda. Well, yeah, you know, this kind of event is helping to deliver their social programme year on year. So that's what the Faith Covenant does. It seeks to bring people together and to help them to network with each other, so that one group down this road knows that there's a group down that road that's doing different but related work. I was just talking just now, you know, we were saying that it's often not known really what's happening locally, even amongst local groups who are not aware what somebody is doing 2 or 3 streets away, let alone the county council. So it's a pleasure to be here tonight, because this event is right down the line of that crucial and ongoing work. So it's an honour for me, both as chair of the Faith Covenant and also as colleague and friend of Sidra's, to be able to welcome you all, to thank the Muslim community once again for their fantastic hospitality. The clue's in the title, and also to say that it's a privilege to work with Sidra, because above all this work reminds us that it's what unites us rather than what divides us. And that has been our mantra for years and years. And it's something which has drawn us together as colleagues, but also our communities around us that we represent. So thank you, Sidra, and thank you to all of you for tonight's great event.
So thank you very much for that lovely introduction. I'm going to actually give you a little bit of history of myself and how I got involved with feeding the homeless and things like that, which is really interesting, because my journey towards feeding, you know, the needy actually started with chess. Here are some pictures. So it was actually 2012. Did you know it was 2012 was the very first one that we did, where I got involved in Chelmsford and got linked up with chess. And we started hiring out a hall, and every Ramadan since then we have been feeding everybody who comes to our events. These are just a few pictures of the very early ones, and everybody brought a dish each, The churches have been absolutely wonderful because they give us a free hall every year, and not only are we feeding all the non-Muslims, we're also feeding our own people as well. So they're also opening up their fast. Okay, when this all started, it really got big out there because we actually got into the newspapers. So we have been in the newspapers on quite a few occasions. Essex Muslims and Christians come together to feed homeless community. Really, really great. We never get in the papers for anything that we do. We never do. And it takes something really big for Muslims to get into the newspapers for something good. And we did actually hit the headlines on a few occasions. So then I decided, it's only once a year I'm doing this in Chelmsford. I want to do something locally and on a regular basis. So this man here, he's over here, Tariq, he was already running the homeless in 2017, and we gave him some money once for the homeless, and we went along to have a look. And that was actually, can you name the place? Was it North Street Halls?
Yeah, North Street.
North Street Halls.
Yes, in Hornchurch.
In
yes.
Hornchurch. That's where it was happening. And people were giving money, and the money was then being used to go and buy hot food, which we started then giving out to the homeless. Took my husband along as well. And then we just realised that, you know, this is really good, and we should do this more often. So every week since that day, it was actually in 2017, I've got the date here.
16.
10th June 2016, but that's when you started. We came 6 months later, and that then made headlines because the radio then came there, and that was actually an Essex radio station that came there, Gateway Radio, who came there and did an interview with us, so that was getting big out there. So the money kept rolling in, people kept giving us money, and we decided we need to make an organisation. So we then made Feed the Needy. So this is Feed the Needy, this is our big banner that we made. And the way that works is that people give us money, the public give us money, we then use that money to go out and buy hot food, and then we feed vulnerable people, families. It's not just homeless, it's asylum seekers, refugees, vulnerable people, anybody who, you know, financially needs support, every single week. Then the pandemic happened, okay, and Hope for Hayring, which is the place that we were feeding the homeless in, shut down. So there was nothing. So then we had to find alternative places where we could use the money, because it's grown so big that people are giving money quite often to the place. So then we joined up, our team got bigger. Khalid Saleem, there's a Khalid Saleem Foundation, we joined up with them, and we started feeding the homeless in Collier Row, which is North Hall, is it? What's the name of that hall?
North Romford Community
Centre.
Yeah.
North Romford Community Centre.
Which is in Collier Road.
Which is in Collier Road. And that's where we then started up again. And it was freezing cold. That day it was snowing. I remember it was freezing cold and we were out there because we couldn't go indoors anymore because of the pandemic. And we restarted up outside and it was freezing cold. We got all the hot food, we packaged it all up into individual containers. Because of COVID, we couldn't give it in plates anymore. It was really, really strict. And then we did that. And then that got bigger. And then we opened up a new branch. And we ended up in the Rockford Town Centre. So here is a picture in Rockford Town Centre. As you can see, my husband's involved as well. So that's Rockford Town Centre, where we then branched out, if you like. And then we got even bigger. Because then we joined up another one in, gosh, what's the area name? Chadwell Heath. And this is the picture there of the one in Chadwell Heath, and that's gone in the papers recently. So it was actually International Women's Day, where the Romford newspapers got in touch with me because I was a prominent female in the Rockford community as well as Essex, and then they put me in the paper, and that talks about all of that one. The soup kitchen, there's a big food bank there as well, so we do actually the hot food part there. So this is how it's expanded really, and it's under the Feed the Needy banner that we are here today. Okay, right. Okay, do we have any questions so far just about what I've spoken to you about? Because then we've got another agenda after that. Any questions, anybody? No? Okay, Rachel, do you want to come near the front? Because you're going to be one of the speakers, aren't you, in a minute? Right, okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to talk to you about why we actually are feeding you all today. What's Ramadan? What do we do? Why do we do it? So I'm going to give you a little talk on Ramadan. We're going to have a big question and answer session, and we're going to open that up to any questions on Islam, anything you like. Are we terrorists? Are we oppressed? I'm going to dispel all those myths. I was laughing because he found out a long time ago women are not oppressed, Muslim women. But I don't know what your misconceptions are. So we're going to do all those rotten questions, but Muslims are going to ask me questions as well to get the ball rolling. We're going to involve everybody. Okay? Then we've got Rachel here, who is actually a revert, and she started fasting before she even became a Muslim. And she's going to talk to us about some of the benefits that she found in fasting. And then all of you are going to eat, the ones who are not fasting. By that time, hopefully, we'll get more food. And then all the people who are fasting are then going to eat. And some of you will see us pray as well, how we pray as well. So there's lots and lots of things going on today. And then you will all be able to take away food with you today, everybody who's here. Okay? Right. Who can tell me, out of the non-Muslims, what is Ramadan? That includes Iva as well. We're going to test your skills today. Who can tell me, what is Ramadan? Any ideas? No? Jackie?
Is it a period of, well, it's a period of fasting?
It is,
Yeah.
good, yes.
That's about as much as
Right,
remember,
that's fine, that's good enough.
Yeah.
So Ramadan is the 9th month of the Islamic calendar, and it's observed by Muslims worldwide as a month of fasting. Okay? Fasting is where we give up food and drink for a little while, and that's enough to help us to feel how the weak and vulnerable feel, and then that allows us then to help them afterwards with food, shelter, money, clothing. Okay? So we're going to look at the history of fasting. It's always been a common practice throughout the ages. And Moses, we know he fasted for 40 days and 40 nights up on the mountain just before receiving the 10 Commandments. And it was a 24-hour fast from evening to evening for 40 days. Okay? Then Jesus comes along. Jesus also fasted for 40 days and 40 nights. Ivor, what was that period called?
Lent.
Good, well done. So he also fasted 40 days, 40 nights in Lent. And again, that was a 24-hour fast because it was taken over from the Jewish traditions. And then, by the time Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, came along, he was born in Arabia, in Mecca, in 570 AD during the Middle Ages. By the time he came along, where he lived, people had completely forgotten about the previous religions. And there were 3 bad things happening in relation to the poor. Which Muslim can tell me one of the bad things that was happening in relation to the poor in Arabia? Anybody? Pop your hands up, please. Do you want to pop your hands up if you know? Yes, Nasreen.
Poor were very poor, and the rich were very rich.
Excellent, that's the first one, well done. The rich were very, very rich, the poor were really, really poor, and none of the rich were bothering to look after the poor. There was a big division between the two. Okay? Any more Muslims? Yes, Layla's daughter.
So there was a man and he was really rich, but he didn't give to the poor people.
Okay, yep, so we have sort of covered that already. What were the other 2 bad things happening in Arabia which is why fasting was reintroduced by God. Jasmine.
I'm not sure if it comes under that category, but they used to bury the daughters, didn't they?
Yeah, it's not under that category,
No.
only in relation to the poor.
Right.
Come on, everybody. You're shaming yourselves up. Ursha.
The rich were taking interest.
Okay, they were using the poor, yes. Okay, there's two more though. What is your names? What's your name?
Say,
Zain.
weren't like people worshipping like idols?
Okay, only in relation to the poor. Only in relation to the poor. Okay,
The rich people didn't know how to poor people felt.
that's the one. Good. Gosh, I'm glad somebody knows, 'cause this is worrying me, you know. This is really worrying me, yeah.
It was trying to work out what's in it.
Right, good. That's a brilliant answer. There was no concept of feeling how the poor feel. The rich had been rich for so long, they didn't even know what it felt like to be poor. And if they don't know what it feels like to be poor, how are they going to bother helping them? There was one more which I covered in my Sunnahs of Weight Loss lecture. Anything else? There's an eye on the Quran about this. Come on, girls.
Was it to do with wasting food?
Good. She's the superhero today, that one. Excellent. Too much waste and excess. Too much waste and excess. That is actually in the Quran, so we know that it was happening. Excess of food and huge wastefulness. Okay? So along comes Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. He was of a religious nature and he detested what was going on in his society. He was of a good nature. And he used to go up and he used to pray up on the mountain called the Mountain of Light. It's called the Mountain of Light for a reason, because one day there was a big light there, and we believe that Angel Gabriel came to visit him there. We believe it's the same angel who also visited Mary as well and said, you're going to have a baby and you're going to call him Jesus. And it was there that Angel Gabriel then showed Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, some words, and told him to read those words. And we believe that those words were words from the Quran, which I have got here to show you all. So, we believe that the Quran is the word of God, and it was rules for mankind. Start doing this, do a little bit more of this, stop doing this. The Quran is written in Arabic. Okay, and we try and read it in Arabic because it keeps the authenticity of the words. But, however, we do have translations. I've got English translations here for you today. We do read in other languages as well. We would normally pop it on a stand like this, which you might see around in mosques and things. It's to keep the respect and to also raise the Quran higher as well. But we will talk about a lot of that, a lot more in the questions. So I'm doing a very quick overview. And why I mentioned a bit about the Arabic was that we do our prayers in Arabic to keep the original words of God. Now, that story I told you about in the cave actually happened in Ramadan. So Ramadan is an important month because it's the month in which the Quran was revealed. So it's like an anniversary of the Quran being revealed. And this is very important when I come to the talk later. Right, in the Quran there are 5 things which everyone was asked to start doing. And those 5 things are the pillars of Islam. And those 5 pillars are a little bit like a house, where each pillar is something that we do, which keeps the roof lovely and strong at the top. Okay? So, the very first one, I'm not going to go through all of the pillars, but the first one is the belief in God and in the last prophet. By believing in the last prophet, it means that we believe in all the ones before, including the original books and everything they taught us as well. This is why we say the last prophet's name. Prayer is the second one. And who can tell me how we were told to look after the poor? So you mentioned the rich were really rich and the poor were really, really poor. What were the rich asked to do?
Charity.
Give charity. 2.5% of our money goes to the needy every year out of our savings. And then people didn't know what it felt like to be poor. People had no sympathy for the poor. So what do you think God told everyone to start doing to help them feel how the poor feel? Let's open that one up to the non-Muslims.
Fasting.
Fasting, well done, good. Okay, pilgrimage is the last pillar, and normally we would be expected to do those pillars in order, and once you start those, then you can finish it off, complete the faith in a way, the pilgrimage, and that completes the faith at the top. Okay, so all those bad things that were happening before Islam came, the rich not looking after the poor, changed to the rich have to look after the poor because they have to give this charity, or zakah it's called. The no concept of feeling how the poor feel changed to the concept of feeling how the poor feel through fasting. And the excess of food and wastefulness changed to appreciation and gratefulness through fasting. Okay? And we were really, really lucky because our fast was then updated to 30 days only and to daylight hours only, which is approximately 12 hours, depending on which country you live in. So our fast was updated from the previous 40 days, 24-hour fast, to 30 days in daylight hours only. So if you think we have it hard.
I've got a question.
Questions are at the end.
Oh, are they?
Yes.
Okay.
So if you keep that in your
It's
mind.
relevant. But,
Okay, go on then.
It's about rich. How do you define rich? And is it index linked?
There is, yes. So anybody in today's currency, £1,000 or more spare in your bank account would mean you are classed as rich. And then you would have to give zakat to anybody who's got less than £1,000 savings in their bank account. That is how you calculate whether they're eligible for.
Does it say the same from year after year after?
No,
10
it
years
changes
later?
every year, but at the
Okay.
moment that is the going rate.
Right.
Because I knew that question was going to come, so I looked it up.
I think it's
Okay.
4,000. I was listening to the radio, it's 4,000.
It depends which country you're in as
Yeah.
well, and the currency. It depends on the currency and the country as well. Because obviously here it's more,
Yeah.
but in our back home countries it's about £1,000, but it depends. Okay? Right. But basically if you've got £1,000 or more, I said, then you have to give. Okay? £1,000 or more, I said. So you can have 10,000 or 12,000. Okay? Right, let's press on because this talks more for the non-Muslims, so we need to keep on track. So Ramadan is an important month because the Quran was first revealed. Muslims fast from dawn until sunset, abstaining from food and drink. Fasting allows one to truly empathize with those less fortunate. So just think about, say you missed your lunch out today, you'd feel hungry, wouldn't you? Yes? And would that, do you think, make you feel more sort of closer to people who don't have anything? And then you would be more likely to help them afterwards. And it really, really does work that way. So how do we know when Ramadan starts? We know usually when the new month starts with the crescent of the moon. And normally, a lot of people don't know because it's always cloudy in Britain. So we can never see the moon in Britain. So we have to rely on countries that are cloud-free, like Saudi Arabia where it never rains. And we get the news from there and then we know that it is time to fast. And we would have a meal just before dawn. So just before sunrise, we would have a big meal. That would be our breakfast. And then we would stay hungry during daylight hours. There are lots and lots of benefits of fasting. So there is a Dr. Jack Goldstein. He's actually a Jewish doctor, and he has done lots and lots of research on the benefits of fasting. So let's have a look at some of those. It gives vital organs a complete rest. Obviously, less blood is sent to the digestive system. Your stomach shrinks as well. You only sort of eat what you need, basically. It promotes elimination of metabolic wastes, toxins, bacteria. I'm quite spotty at the moment, and that's because all my toxins are all coming out, probably. But hopefully, I'm hoping by the end I will have a clear complexion. It allows the body to adjust and normalise its biochemistry and also its secretions and hormones. I can't remember, was it you I was talking to the other day?
Probably.
Yeah, and you mentioned something about abnormal growth and it disappeared after
Yeah, I was just
Ramadan.
telling you, wasn't I?
That's
Yeah,
amazing,
that's
and it's
right.
already written in the scientific books that
I
that's
had
exactly
one in the,
what
I
happens.
think in the lymph node a few years ago. I could feel it, and then I fasted for 20 days.
Yeah,
That's all I could do,
yeah,
and it went.
and it
completely,
went. So
yeah.
there you go. So it's, and some people they suffer from eczema and it goes in Ramadan. So it's really quite interesting how it works. When we say secretions, hormones, insulin and things like that as well, for type 2 diabetics, it lets the body break down and absorb swellings, deposits, diseased tissues, that's exactly what you just said, and abnormal growths. White blood cells are activated as well. Did you know what else it breaks down? What type of
Fat
cell?
cells.
Fat cells. Breaks down your fat cells. It restores a youthful condition to the cells and tissues, something the ladies like. It increases the powers of digestion and assimilation because it gives the stomach a complete rest, and then when you do it, the power is a lot more. It's like a battery when you charge it up. And it permits the conservation and rerouting of energy. It clears and strengthens the mind. The rerouting of energy is a really good one. So energy is not needed for the stomach, and then that energy then goes in other areas of your body. But I have now got a video which I'm going to pop on, and you can listen to the whole cycle of fasting.
In each stage of the 30 days of fasting. Stage 1. During the first couple of days of fasting, both blood sugar level and blood pressure drop. The body starts the cleansing process, and the first few days are the hardest as they are usually accompanied with headaches, dizziness, nausea, and intense hunger. Stage 2. During the second stage, the body becomes accustomed to the fasting schedule and the digestive system is able to rest. The digestive system focuses its energy on cleansing the body and healing the cells as the white blood cells in the body start to become more active. During this stage, the organs start their repair process as well. Stage 3. By the third stage, energy levels will have increased, your mind is able to concentrate better, and an overall feeling of wellness overtakes you. During fasting, the body's healing process becomes a lot more efficient, and so the body repairs any damaged cells during this stage. During this stage, the colon, liver, kidney, lungs, and skin are detoxing by eliminating toxins. Stage 4. During the last 10 days of fasting in Ramadan, the body has become accustomed to the fasting process. Your body becomes more energetic and you experience improved memory and concentration. At this stage, the organs are finishing up their healing process, and once all toxins are removed, the body is able to function at its maximum capacity. These are just some of the physical benefits of fasting that will take place within the body. But the spiritual benefits this month are far greater than anything mentioned here.
Very interesting video that, and he mentioned spiritual benefits as well. So it's not just physical benefits, it's spiritual benefits as well, which we will talk a little bit about in a minute. Basically, we don't eat anything at all, and anything that goes in our bodies, inside our stomachs, will break the fast. But anything that comes out of our bodies, that's the rule, and that won't break the fast. So I've just got some here. These things don't break the fast because they're coming out of the body. But medication, for example, or IV fluids and things like that, they would break the fast. Okay? Right. Does anybody know any kinds of people who do not need to fast? There are actually at least 7 types of
Elderly
people.
people, frail people,
Good, yes.
Diabetics.
Elderly people. Yep.
Or
Anybody
if
with medical
or if I
conditions?
became pregnant.
Yep. Pregnant. Yep. That's 3. Any more?
Breastfeeding.
Pardon?
Breastfeeding.
Breastfeeding is another one. Well done.
Disabled people who don't understand.
Yes. Excellent. That's a very hard one you've got there. Anybody who's disabled who doesn't understand the concept of fasting. There's another one somebody's left
On a
out.
journey. If you're on a journey.
On a journey. There's another one you've all left
Mentally
out.
ill.
Children.
Children. Excellent. Well done, Khadija. That's the first one, isn't it? So, children do not need to fast. Obviously, they are young and they're growing and they need nutrients and things. And I think you have all got all of the others except for one, ladies.
Ladies are on
Monthly
the monthly.
cycle.
Monthly cycle. Right. So minus anybody who's old, obviously old and frail. Let me give the example of my own mother. What am I going to do with that mother of ours? She went and fasted, didn't she? And she's not supposed to fast. And I tell her every year, Mum, don't fast, don't fast, you don't need to fast. But she doesn't listen. And she actually did fast, and her sodium's really low, and she's so weak now, and now she can't fast. So if it's exempt, I think we should really take on board that and not fast, because it's there for a reason, it's in the Quran. Anybody who's ill who needs medication, obviously they don't need to fast. Anybody who's travelling long distances. I went to a conference yesterday and there was somebody there from Birmingham, a speaker, and he was Muslim and he wasn't fasting. Pregnant women we mentioned, because obviously, you know, the unborn baby needs nutrients. Breastfeeding, because, you know, the nutrients are needed in the milk. Anyone who's on their monthly, it's a rest for them. Obviously, they're vulnerable, are they not? They're in pain and they need medication. And anybody disabled who doesn't understand the concept of fasting. Is there anything else we give up apart from food and drink? Anything else? Anybody want to pop their hands up?
Intimate relationships.
Yep. Anything else? Yes?
Getting angry.
Yes, getting angry.
Swearing.
Swearing. Anything else?
Backbiting.
Backbiting. Good, you got them all there. Well done. Or lying. Okay. So Tom is a good cat. He's a good cat in Ramadan. He doesn't chase Jerry. He said you are lucky that I am fasting now.
Wait till Iftar.
Muslims also call this. It's a spiritual cleansing, basically. Arguing, fighting, swearing, backbiting, gossiping. It also teaches us patience, self-control, and self-discipline. And angry birds are not angry in Ramadan. You mentioned angry, didn't you? Fasting is a method of self-purification and self-restraint. You need a lot of energy to get angry as well. You don't have the energy to get angry, but also you just tend to restrain yourself. So it's not just fasting of our stomachs, it's fasting of our tongues as well. It's fasting of everything else as well. Okay? So fasting is a method of self-purification. If 11 months were stains, let Ramadan be the cleaner. Okay? So Ramadan is actually sins remover out of all the, 12 months. That's our month where it gets rid of all our sins and things as well. And, come to the middle, brother. And also, what was I going to say? It's annual training for the whole year. So Ramadan is about losing sins, not weight. And fasting is not about diet of burning calories, but burning of pride, ego, and sins. So it also makes you humble as well. Because you relate to the weak and vulnerable, it makes you come down a notch or so. And really in this month we should really practice that. So we shouldn't really be out spending our money like anything or doing extravagant things. We should really, it should bring us down to the level of the poor, and we should behave like the poor. This is how it spiritually affects us.
Sidra, is it worth pointing out that Ramadan actually comes from the root word ramad, which means to burn off, as in burning off the sins? So
Yes,
like
that's
nice
good.
and shiny
Good one.
and new again.
It does, yes, yes. So that one is a little bit like the bit there, isn't it, about losing the sins. Right, then when it just after sunset, we are able then to open our fast. And does anybody know what a Muslim would normally open their fast with? Let's open this up to the non-Muslims.
Prayer.
Yeah, we would be prayer. What would we eat? What kind of food do you think? Come on, you know, don't you? You're smiling over there. What kind of food do you think it would be, though? No? Okay, who's going to tell me out the Muslims then?
Dates.
Dates.
And
Why
water.
dates? Why dates?
It provides energy and sugars in an easily absorbed method.
Excellent. That is the exact answer I'm looking for. Dates have 3 natural sugars, simple sugars: sucrose, fructose, and glucose. So it's instant energy for us to open our fast with, and also it contains fibre, which fills us up as well. So if you eat 3 dates, you get full up. You don't feel like eating. I just wondered if you could show me a sachet quickly from there, which I'm going to show to everybody. So all of you are going to be able to take a gift home today, which has been donated. I don't know if the lady's here. She's still here, yes. So it's really sweet of her to bring gifts for you all. So that has actually got a date in there. So if any of you haven't tasted a date, you can taste one. There's chocolate in there in case you don't want the date. And there's a tea bag there to have a nice hot cup of tea to open your fast with. Because I was speaking to somebody today who said she feels really cold. Right. Okay. So we would then normally have a nutritious meal all together with our families. The latest this year is there's iftars everywhere. Iftars are the way we break our fast everywhere. I have not eaten not once at home this Ramadan. We've been out in the mosques. Each and every mosque is doing huge parties. And basically, because of the 2 years of COVID, it's gone way overboard this year in a really good way. So families, it's great. We're all going, we're bonding with everybody else, and we're doing special fast breaking for non-Muslims as well. I think Iva's been invited to Chelmsford Mosque on Friday, and I will be there as well. And I went last week to Southend Mosque. It was absolutely brilliant, which is where I met Rachel. And then I nicked her to come here. Some of you may get some food from your from Muslim neighbours, because we are expected to feed our neighbours as well, look after our neighbours. And we may invite people around our houses to eat as well. Neighbours and things, and you know, friends to open their fast with. I actually did one big one in the mosque where I live last week. It was, wasn't it? It was Monday, so it's not been a week yet. And that went with a big bang, and everybody ended up coming. I invited all my close friends and family and things to that, and it was really, really nice, really great feeling. Fasting also makes children hopefully grateful, because we don't realise just how much we've got nowadays and how much variety we've got at home to eat. And fasting actually makes us more grateful as well for what we've got, and stops the waste. So we're asking you all to take doggy bags home today, because we don't want to waste the food. Now in this month is when we would also give the charity. So because it makes us humble and feel like the poor, we then want to give charity as well. So that charity pillar, a lot of people try and do it within Ramadan. So an important principle in Islam is that everything belongs to God or Allah. Wealth is therefore held by human beings in trust. Each Muslim pays 2.5% of one's capital and assets to those in need. This is obligatory charity or zakah. Zakah is a unique concept compared to other forms of giving in that it redistributes the wealth in society. When applied correctly, it effectively eliminates poverty. So, did you know Muslims are the record breakers for giving the most amount of charity in the world, because they have to do it. And not only that, this is obligatory charity, we give to other forms of charity as well throughout the year. Within Ramadan, it's estimated £40 billion is given to the poor every year by Muslims, which is just absolutely amazing.
Wow.
I mentioned earlier on that it's the month in which the Quran came down in, it was revealed. So fasting is only 1% of not eating and drinking. The rest of the 99% is bringing your heart closer to God. So we try and do less worldly things in this month. I mean, in our house, for example, the telly's off. My husband hasn't watched cricket for a whole month. He's given up his cricket, so he's doing really well. He's sitting there reading the Quran instead. Shopping and all the worldly things that you do, you know, is out the window in Ramadan. We try and bring us so spiritually closer to God in that month. So we would read the Quran more. We would go to the mosque more. Okay? So at night, a lot of families are going to the mosque and they are praying there, extra nighttime prayers at the mosque. And this year, like I said, there's the food going on there as well. And there's one night which is really important, which happens in the last 10 days, which is now, where that's the exact night on which the Quran was actually revealed. It's one of the last 10 days. So in those last 10 days, you would find that people are extra praying and staying up at night and doing nighttime prayers and things. And that night, we don't know when that night is, but people are going to the mosque a lot more as well. If we fast properly, we believe that we will go to heaven and all our past sins will be forgiven. So that's a really lovely, lovely concept. What happens after the whole month of fasting? Which non-Muslim can tell me that? What do you think happens? Are you non-Muslim?
No.
Come on. Celebration. Good. Okay. Eid means celebration. Al means off. Fitr means breaking. What are we breaking that day? Our fast. Fitr is an anagram of Iftar. It's the same root word. Iftar is what you were asking me earlier, Ivor, about what that word is. Okay? So how do we know when it's Eid? We look for the new moon again. Okay? And it's always a big palaver trying to find out when Eid is. Again, we never know when Eid is in this country because it's always cloudy out there. So we have to look at other countries that have got clear sky. And we usually find out the night before that it's Eid. We usually say the greeting Eid Mubarak, which means Happy Eid. Okay? We do decorate our houses with lights. I just went around somebody's house the other day and they had lovely moons and stars everywhere in the house. Just like at Christmas, you know, you would decorate your houses. Everybody dresses up really lovely clothes. I know somebody has bought a new dress for Eid. I'm still thinking of what I'm going to be wearing for Eid, but we usually do buy something new. Hope you don't mind me mentioning it there. So we do usually buy something new for Eid, don't we? Something nice to wear. Henna tattoos is quite common as well. On Eid, you may see lots of ladies with their hands painted. We would go to the mosque in the morning to pray, and the highlight of the day is obviously food. So we would get together with our families and friends, and we would have big food parties. In fact, Eid parties is going to be big this year because we haven't been able to do them for 2 years. And the best bit that I like is presents. Presents and money on Eid. And then we can go out and buy whatever we like. So great celebrations, and that's for adults as well as children. And we give out Eid cards. This is actually my own personal Eid card that I have designed, which some of you lucky people receive from me this year. Except it'll be a bit more glittery because I'm going to make the fireworks animated, which is my style, isn't it? Right. Okay, let's open the floor to questions. I would like quite a lot of participation. We usually do continue for at least half hour of questions. Now's your chance, everybody. All the questions you wanted to know about, all the stigma topics and Islamophobic topics. And if not, then the Muslims need to come forward and start asking so we can get the ball rolling. Come on then, Ivy, do you want to start off?
No.
He knows it all. He's heard it enough from me every year. Come on. What would you like to ask? Hands up. Non-Muslims first. Let's give them.
Why do a lot of the men seem to have beards?
Okay. The prophets all had beards. Okay? So Jesus had a beard, Moses had a beard, Noah had a beard. Okay? Razor blades only came about in this century. Yeah? That's a man-made thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah? So basically we copy the prophets. And Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, also had a beard. So you will find not just Muslims, but you will find Jewish rabbis will have a beard, priests have a beard, because they try and copy the prophets. Okay? Good question. Okay, anybody else? Yeah, yes?
What's the significance with the henna tattoos on the hands?
That is more cultural. So back in hot countries, there's a tree, the henna tree, and it's got leaves which dye your hands red. But also the prophet, our prophet, Muhammad, peace be upon him, used to dye his beard red. So it's a good practice to do that, to copy him. So the ladies, they put henna on their hands. It's something special. They would use it on weddings as well. And some men, you may see them with a ginger beard, and that means they've dyed their beard with the henna. Right, anybody else? Right, Nasrin.
Why was the Christians, why did we change our fast from the Christian fast? Because Christians fasted 24 hours, didn't they?
Because God made it easier for us. We're very lucky. God actually made it easier for us, and he reduced the number of days. Whenever a religion comes, it refreshes all the laws from before, and it may update any laws according to that specific time. And what was happening when the fasting first came was men couldn't stay away from their wives. So they were cheating God, if you like. And while they were fasting, they were sleeping with their wives. And then a verse of the Quran came down and said, I know what you do. God's speaking to us in the Quran. He said, I know what you lot do. I know the secrets in your heart. So now, don't worry, I've reduced the number of fasts to daylight hours only, so at night you can still have your relationships with your wives. Okay? Good question, but I bet you didn't know. You just found out now, didn't you? So that was the reason. Right, anybody else? Any more questions? Yes, Jasmine.
Just a point of observation, really. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but most Christians now, I was a Christian before I converted, do still practicing, tend to do, for Lent, they would just give up one food item. So, for example, we used to give up chocolate for 40 days.
Yes.
So it's still a form of fasting, but obviously nowhere near as harsh, in a sense, as what ours
Yes,
is.
but you know, it's up to you what you want to do. It's between you and God. But obviously Jesus did the proper 24-hour fasting in the evening. But everybody, it's up to you what you want to do. I know somebody in Ramadan who gives up one thing because they can't give up the fast. Yeah, sorry.
I was unaware of the process from Adam to Noah and then onwards to Muhammad. What year was it Muhammad the Prophet came?
So he was born in 570 AD.
Jesus, it's quite some time.
Yes. Let me just pop that chart up which you are referring to. Okay. So Moses, approximately 1300 BC. Obviously Christianity was from 0 AD, and then 610 is when Islam came, but he was born in 570 AD. So it's the latest religion, basically.
So prior to the, obviously, when Islam was established in 610 AD, there must have been Islamic people, but they just weren't classed as Islamic. Is that not correct?
Yeah, that is correct. So what we believe is that the word Islam means submission to God. Submission to God, the one true God.
Yeah.
So we believe that everybody who worshipped that one true God, Allah, were Muslim. Okay? Now Allah is actually the same Allah who Christians and Muslims believe in. If you look at the word Alleluia, Alleluia is an Aramaic word which Jesus used and means praise be to God. So, praise be to God, Alleluia, it's the same God. If you've seen the film Passion of Christ, in there Jesus is speaking Aramaic and he says Allah. And in the Jewish tradition as well, it's Allah again. Okay? So it's the same God. And we believe that all the prior nations who believed in the one true God and believed in the Prophet up to that point, well, it's just Muslim, because the word Islam means submission to the one true God. Okay? Good. You're doing really well, by the way. I think everyone's slowly warming up, and this is what I want. So great. Excellent. Any more questions? Yes.
Just leading on from what that gentleman said, there was a sect of Christians, I believe, during the either the times before the Prophet Muhammad came called Sabians, who were doing pretty much the same as what Muslims do. They were covering, they weren't drinking alcohol, they weren't eating pork.
Yes.
But it wasn't, I think it was kind of like just a small sect, so it wasn't that widely known.
Yes.
That's what I've read anyway.
Yes, there were plenty,
Mm.
but obviously in the land of Arabia, the prominent problem was the idol worshipping and the hundreds of gods. Over 360 gods were being worshipped, which is why Islam came to say, no, just worship the one true God, Allah. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? Yes, Nasrin.
The other Christians, they fast. At that time, did they do the same sort like we do, give up everything? Because at the moment they just give up one thing, isn't
Yeah,
it?
they did.
That's right.
Yes,
But do
of
they have
course.
to stop eating like we
Yes,
do?
but even now I know a reverend who does the full 24-hour fast for 40 days. So there are reverends
So when do
around.
they eat if it's 24 hours?
Well, in the evening you would eat a big meal, then you won't eat the whole day until the following evening. It's very possible. It's just evening to evening, isn't it? It is possible. It's just like our one, except ours is a bit shorter. So evening to evening. It is possible. It's very possible. If Jesus can do it, so can we.
They did that for 40 days, isn't it?
For 40 days, yes. And so did Moses as well. Yes.
So I don't know much about Islam. Or
That's fine. That's why you're here today.
Yeah, obviously what I'm learning
Yeah.
here today, the fundamentals of the ethics behind what you're promoting and what you advise and how you treat yourself and treat others strikes me as very, very similar to the words in which are spoken by Jesus with regards to his guidelines on how to live yourself and his counsel on how to live yourself in order on how to live
Of course.
with others. It's
So
very, very
Jesus
similar.
is one of the greatest prophets in Islam,
Very,
and we believe in
very-
everything that he has told us as well, taught us. In fact, the Lord's Prayer is how we start our prayers each time. When we do our prayers, when we start our prayers, the first chapter of the Quran is the Lord's Prayer in Arabic. So he taught, I mean, you know, and Moses as well. They all taught the same kind of stuff. Okay, yeah. Khadija.
You know, you've got a timeline for Abraham, 1900 BC, but then it doesn't go up all the way up to Adam.
Because we don't know when that was. There were no calendars. Yeah, so we don't know when that was. But obviously it was at the beginning of time, wasn't it? Long time ago when the world was made. Foreigners, you've got the most wonderful smile on your face.
I haven't got a question though, I've got a smile for you, but I've got a question.
You've got a question?
I haven't, no.
Oh, you
I've
haven't?
got a smile for you.
You're
for my
just,
question, so I'll
Just smiling. Right, anybody else? You had a question earlier. Do you want to say that?
I've asked my original question, but
Yes.
I do have another question.
Right.
The charity that Muslims are supposed to give, how sure are we that everybody gives it, and should it be policed, and what does Islam do about it
Right.
if you don't
So,
pay?
in this country, it's between us and God,
Right.
okay? And it's up to us whether we give it or not. There's nobody to check up on us. It's between us and God. In Islamic countries, the government, some countries collects that, like we pay our taxes, don't we, in this country? So like that, Islamic countries, some Islamic countries that are following Sharia law and stuff, they collect that. And they would have a register of everybody in the land and whether they've given it or not. But most people, it's between us and God, and just like everything else in religion, and it's up to, you know, up to God, isn't it, to...
You can give gold as well. Is it the equivalent to gold? How does that work out? It's got to be
You can
pure
do, but
gold,
it's the
doesn't it?
money mainly that you have to calculate, isn't
Right.
it? Yes. It's basically money. Really. So that those people can then use that money to buy whatever they want to. But if you give gold, they can't
Okay,
use
unless
that.
they sell it
But if you
first.
sell the gold first and then give the money, then that's different. Okay?
Because you just have to weigh it, didn't you?
Okay. Nasrin?
So I've got another question. Now, Muslims fast because we have to feel how the poor feel and all the rest of it. What was the reason why Christians and Jews fasted? What was their reason?
It was to get closer to God, to gain an extra form of piety. If you look at the exact periods of time when they fasted, so if you look at when Moses fasted, he was right up there just before receiving the 10 Commandments, and he fasted to get close to God.
Was that when he was in the Mount Sinai?
Up on the mountain, just before receiving the 10 Commandments. If you look at Jesus, he was in the desert. He was at his lowest point and he fasted to get closer to God. Okay? And we also fast for the same reasons, because it says it in the Quran, to get closer to God. But we get closer to God by becoming humble. We all know that the most poorest people, this is in Christianity as well, will enter heaven first. The poorest people will enter heaven first, because they are more appreciative of God and that kind of stuff. You see? Yes, yes. Right, anybody else? Yes.
In Lent, the fasting of 40 days isn't just fasting, it's also conflict. It's also conflict with evil.
Yes.
And the end of the 40 days, the scriptures make it clear that there was a confrontation between extreme good and extreme evil. I'm just wondering how and what Islam perceives that as.
Yeah, Islam says that, you know, Satan, he's locked up in Ramadan. So that's our chance then to do really good. And lots of people become better. All of a sudden, people who don't pray normally, they start praying and the mosques are fuller. So we do have that concept as well about, you know, less evil. Yeah.
I was just going to talk about the conflict between good and evil. I've seen it enacted here, but no. We believe that Satan is locked up, you see, in Ramadan. So the ability to do good deeds is greater.
Yeah.
But isn't it also a way of us combating our inner demons? Although Satan's locked up, we've still got our own doubts, our own...
Yes, because there's a green-eyed monster in all of us.
Yeah,
yes.
so isn't Ramadan also a chance for us to master that or take manage those emotions?
We did speak about that before you came.
Sorry.
We talked about self-restraint, self-patience, self-discipline. We talked about all of that. Yeah, that's what happens when you're late.
I know. So.
You are late. Yes.
Another thing, it says in Christianity, it says that man will not live on bread alone, he will live on the word of God. So in relation to fasting, again, it's well, for me, my understanding is that you take food away and you can live solely on the word.
Yeah.
And throughout the disciples' movement across their journey, when manna was rained down, they only had the word, so they never had food.
Yes.
So subsequently fasting obviously was forced upon them, as opposed to sometimes it being a choice.
Yes. Yes.
But like I say, that only allows you spiritually stronger to then realise that you can go without food. So when you don't have it, you can go without it. When you do have it, you're more grateful of even the smallest amount.
Exactly, and that is the concept of fasting. That's very good. All right, thank you so much. Right, any more questions before I call Rachel to the front? No? Right, Rachel, do you want to come to the front now? Rachel is a revert. And I met her at Southend Mosque, but she already knew me, didn't you? I didn't know her, but she knew all about me. She'd seen me all over already. And Rachel actually started fasting before she became a Muslim. And that was actually one of the things that drove you to becoming a Muslim. So if you could just talk about your experience, how it all happened, that would be great.
So Assalamu alaikum, which means peace be upon you. I'm just literally going to talk for a few minutes about basically my first experience of fasting. So this year would have been a Muslim for 9 years. However, actually it's my 10th Ramadan. It's my 10th experience of this fasting month, because I did practice fasting before I actually became Muslim. And so I just wanted to share this little anecdote with you, and maybe it will encourage you just to try fast one day, and see how you feel. And that'd be really nice if you want to share your experience with us. So when I first started fasting, it was actually 9 years ago. It was summer, so it was like July, August time. The fast started around about 2:30 in the morning and would finish like 9:50 at night time. So it's much longer than what it is now. Because the month of Ramadan is based on the lunar calendar, it changes every year. By about 11 days it's brought forward. So in just like a few years' time, actually we'll be fasting in winter. So, for example, then the fast will start around about maybe 7:30 in the morning and will finish at like 3:30, 3:15 in the afternoon. Basically just like an early breakfast and a lunch. So if you want to try fasting, if I can encourage you, maybe you can have a go in a few months' time. You know, in the winter, it's going to be much easier for you. So yeah, back then I would have like a huge feast in the morning. I would have like eggs and bread and cheese and lots of drinks and cereal. I used to eat so much. But then now, just 9 years later, I literally just have 2 Weetabix, 2 glasses of water, and it's enough. And even right now, we're near the end. Maybe there's like 45 minutes left, but I feel just as good as I felt when I had my breakfast this morning, because you really do get used to it. And the other thing I really learned, it was quite profound actually, is that, I wasn't even Muslim, and I noticed if I'm doing something for God, I was in this frame of mind, like in a zone, and I wasn't feeling hungry, and I was feeling like really strong actually, considering I'm not even a Muslim. But I really find that when I'm doing something for God, like you really have this like energy and power, and you're literally in a zone. And when I'm not fasting for God, like say for example, I've missed my lunch just in a normal day, I would feel really hungry, and I'm eating every few hours. Oh my gosh, I'm so hungry. But now I've been fasting for how long? Maybe 14 hours now, 15 hours, and I don't feel hungry at all. Really, not at all. And easily, when it comes to the time to break the fast, I'll just have a date or some water, literally just because you have to. If you have to break the fast, you can't keep it. And then I could easily just delay half an hour, another 45 minutes before actually having my meal, because it's just incredible how we progress, and when you're just in that zone, like what you can achieve really. So I just wanted to share that little thing with you and encourage you to, inshallah, God willing, just try, fast one day. If you can't try now, try in the winter, have your early breakfast and your late lunch, and share your experience with other people.
Well done. Let's give it that. Yeah, I totally get what you said, you go in a zone, because someone asked me today that even though you're fasting, you've still got the energy, and you're doing the talk, and you're doing everything that you do when you're not fasting. But that energy just comes in you. People who know me, I do so much. I work, and I do my house stuff as well, and then I have time for my hobbies, and then I still do all of God's work. Where does all that energy come from? It's the passion. You just get that because it's for God. That's what drives you forward, really, to do everything. Okay, right. We've got some leaflets at the back there on that table, on topics and things on Islam, like our women oppressed and all the rest. If you want, you can take those with you. And we're just going to have a couple of minutes if the ladies can just sort out some, because there's been loads of food that's come in, and it might all be in the wrong places, under the wrong categories. And then in a minute, then you can all go. All the non-Muslims need to go and they can eat. And then we will join you in after that meet as well. Okay? We're doing it in shifts, so we don't all just go there. But you've been a wonderful audience, well done. I'm going to keep this, I'm going to do the call to prayer through here. Film that if you want. Yeah, so thanks for bringing These are starters. I think the starters. Okay, can the people who are not fasting make their way in a line on here, on this side, please? Starting with the non-Muslims.
She was opposite the county hotel.
Yeah, I didn't know until I seen.
Brother Saqib, are you staying? If you can give out one plate each, please. Make sure it's one.
They're very sticky.
Yeah.
Yes, that's it, lovely. Thank you.
Can you pop that lid under the table, please? That's it. That's why I put you there with the rice, because he's got full experience of serving rice. Can you open the lids quickly?
This has got chicken in it. Would you like a chicken?
Yeah, can we open the lids quickly, please?
Yeah, just
Pop the lids under the table.
thank you.
Bit more?
No, that's lovely, thank
This is
you.
a different. Is this chicken? This one? Chicken or you want? Which one? Chicken or? It's got chicken in it.
All the lids need to be open now.
Big appetite or a medium appetite?
That's beautiful. Thank you so much.
So the chicken
Just one box.
I don't want to. Pardon?
As long as there's no...
Yeah, no, I think it's
I haven't seen any lamb, but there's chicken at the end.
Sharifat, can you pass me the chicken, please? We'll just pop that here.
We haven't had any of these outings.
You're definitely mistaken.
Yeah, Dan. No, you took your
I
faces
thought
in
you seen
media.
me in. I thought you seen me in Romford.
No, he knows you from
I'm
the
around
telly.
Romford.
You're on the telly.
Sorry.
Yep.
The samosas, are they vegetarian?
Meat. They're meat.
It's lovely, isn't it?
Loads of food.
I know, I'm trying to make space. People will be people, won't they, at the end of the day?
Yeah. No, but
At least you've got a good turnout. That's the main thing.
Yeah.
One of these.
We always do.
I want to touch everything. You've chopped the queue, Jasmine. What are these?
Chicken
nuggets. And
I
what's in
don't
there?
know. I honestly don't know. People bought
Chicken,
things.
yeah. Cheese, maybe.
I don't know. But you can taste it. It's all halal.
Oh. Yeah, probably oven baked, I would have thought. Given your name by...
Yes. Lots of people know me. You're famous? Yeah. I think everyone knows who I am in Essex.
Yeah, I would have known if it was him, so yeah.
Come in, what did you say?
That's it. Thank you.
Serve that in that. Do you like the Ramadan cream
Very
cake?
cute. It's lovely.
Should we cut that into squares? So
I don't want to spoil it. I don't want to spoil it. I think leave it.
Yeah, precisely, yeah.
Right, how long have we got? I hope you're going to tell me beforehand so I can put the adhan on.
25 minutes.
No.
Yeah, sure.